Your Paulsbo Community Orchestra is busy rehearsing for their Winter Classics concert on March 22nd under the able baton of Dr. Joseph Pollard White. Let's meet Joe White.
I grew up in New York, on Long Island, outside of New York City. I went to undergraduate at the Eastman School of Music, the University of Rochester. I started out majoring in violin. My mother was an organist and a musician, so I had some music training from a young age. I had piano lessons when I was 6 and violin lessons when I was 7. So I went to Eastman as a violinist and then switched to viola. And then after that, I kind of started focusing on conducting. I went to Indiana University for my master's, which was actually in viola, and then studied at the Domain seminar up in Hancock, Maine. That was the conducting school founded by Pierre Monteau back in the 60s. And I studied with Charles Brooke there. He was kind of one of my big conducting teachers. I've had plenty. And then after that, I came out to the University of Washington to do my doctorate in orchestral conducting. I studied with the late Robert Feist, a big opera conductor. So that was an interesting slant on things.
So you've been associated with the Puget Sound area for a long time then?
Yeah, we came out in '85. Actually, we came out in '84. We took the train from Pittsburgh out to, my spouse is from Pittsburgh. We came out on the train to Seattle and then went down to California and back just to do it. And when we were in town in 1984, I checked out the University of Washington on my mother's recommendation. And it turns out that Robert Feist, who became my conducting teacher, had gone to school with my mother at the the College of Music in Cincinnati. Now it's part of the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. So that's one of those strange musical connections. So I started here, the doctorate in '85, finished in '91, and have been here off and on. I conducted the Rainier Symphony for several years, did a bunch of studio work and the '90s film scores, things like that. Then I taught at Pacific Lutheran University for a year in 2001, and then got back into university teaching, taught in Virginia and Kentucky for 5 years. And then came back to Seattle. That was in 2009. And then started working with the Seattle Mandolin Orchestra. And a couple years ago, I was appointed musical director of the Thalia Symphony in Seattle.
Joe, can you tell us a little about the music PCO's audience will be enjoying?
Sometimes I like to think of a concert like a meal, and this concert is, rather than kind of meat and potatoes, is more like small plates. We've got 5 different approaches, different flavors, different tastes, if you want. The first piece is the Hungarian Dance No. 1 by Johannes Brahms. It is just plain fun. There's no other thing you need to know about it. It's just fun. You're in a cafe in Budapest and the band is in the corner. Enjoy. Our real overture is the Hebrides Overture by Felix Mendelssohn. It's sometimes known as Fingal's Cave. Mendelssohn wrote this, or was inspired to write this, when he was a fairly young man in his early 20s and was on a trip up to Scotland, which in 1830 or so, was still pretty darn wild, kind of like Alaska today. So it's a wild and woolly piece, very exciting. Our kind of serious piece is the so-called Unfinished Symphony by Franz Schubert. Schubert was basically a songwriter, a song composer, and he didn't write a lot of big orchestral stuff, but this piece is very famous. It's got a really beautiful, memorable tune, as you would expect from a songwriter, and yet it has unexpected drama in it. Our next piece after that is a real change of pace. It's the Valse Triste, which is sad waltz, by Jan Sibelius, the important Finnish composer. It's sad waltz. It's sad, but it's from a play where there's a death scene, and so it's sad. But it's also kind of beyond sad, kind of transcendent and really beautiful. So that'll be kind of our change of pace. And then we're finishing up with the Pollard dances from the opera Prince Igor by Alexander Borodin. Borodin is a really interesting guy, and you'll have to read about it in the program notes. But these are exotic dances. Prince Igor has been captured by the Pollard-and instead of killing him, they have a feast, and it's the whole works. Dancing girls and horses and everything you could want. And it's all in the music. We'll be performing Sunday, March 22nd at 3 p.m. at the North Kitsap Auditorium. Hope you can join us.